Commander Rick Thorne stood at the edge of docking bay 12, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the transport shuttle. The cold lights of Veltarak 9 flickered above his head. This space station belonged to the Dravari Empire, the most powerful alien race in the galaxy. And like all humans here, Thorne had to follow their rules. He had been told that a new worker was being assigned to him. Nothing more. The shuttle door hissed open. 2 Dravari soldiers stepped out first. They're tall, armored, bodies moved like machines. Between them walked a human girl, thin, silent, and slow. Her eyes looked down, her posture stiff like she was afraid to move the wrong way. "That's her," said one Dravari in a deep voice. "Designation: Human Labor Unit 9734L. She is trained in cleaning, organizing, and basic communication. She has a name?" Thorne asked. The soldier didn't answer. Instead, he handed over a data chip and turned away. The girl stopped a few feet in front of Thorne. Her clothes were gray, simple, and worn. Her black hair was tied back tightly, and her arms hung lifeless by her side. She didn't look up. Thorne sighed. "What's your name?" I don't have one, sir," she said quietly. He frowned. "Everyone has a name. What did they call you at the labor center?" She hesitated, then said Lyra, "But we're not supposed to use names." "Well, Lyra," Thorne said gently, "you're with me now. And I say, names matter." She looked up at him slowly, unsure how to react. His voice wasn't harsh. He didn't yell. He didn't even look angry. That confused her. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you something to eat." The quarters Thorne lived in were better than most. Not because the Dravari gave him special treatment, but because he fixed everything himself. Old Earth tech mixed with alien hardware. The lights worked, air was clean, and it actually felt human. Lyra followed him silently. She walked like someone trained to expect pain. "Sit," Thorne said, pointing to a soft chair. She paused, then slowly sat on the edge of it, like she thought she would be punished. He brought her a meal, not nutrient paste like the labor centers served, but real food. Synth meat, rice, warm broth. She stared at it, confused. "It's for you," he said. "No, this is worker food," she asked, unsure. "It is now," Thorne said. "Eat." She took a small bite, then another. Then she ate like someone who had never tasted real food in her life. Thorne watched her with a heavy heart. "How long were you in the labor camps?" "Since birth," she said, swallowing. "I was raised there, taught to clean, to listen, not to ask questions." Thorne nodded. He'd seen this before. The Dravari didn't need to kill humans. They just raised them to be quiet and obedient. "You're not a tool, Lyra. You're a person. You understand that?" She looked up. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Thorne leaned back in his chair. "Don't worry. You'll learn." The next morning, Lyra woke up on a real bed. Not a cold floor, not a cage. She blinked at the soft sheets and the quiet hum of the station's power core. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the door slid open. Thorne entered, carrying a data pad. "Sleep okay?" he asked. She sat up, nodding. "Yes, sir. You don't have to call me, sir. Just Thorne is fine." She nodded again, unsure. Then she noticed he had brought her clothes. Real clothes. "Pants, shirt, boots. These are for me?" "Yeah. Can't have you running around in those rags." She changed quickly, then stood in front of the mirror. For the first time, she looked like someone real, not a background tool. A human. Thorne handed her the data pad. "This has basic engineering tools. I want to teach you. Why?" she asked softly. "Because you can do more than sweep floors. I need help fixing this station." "I'm not smart," she said. He smiled. "Everyone says that until they try. Come on, let's start with something simple." For the next week, Lyra worked beside Thorne. He showed her how to fix pipes, clean filters, even access power lines. At first, she was slow, but she learned quickly. Every time she succeeded, Thorne praised her. Every time she failed, he just told her to try again. She didn't understand it. She kept waiting for him to get angry. But he never did. One night, after a long shift, Lyra sat in the small common room, looking at the stars through the station window. Thorn sat beside her, drinking coffee. "Why are you being nice to me?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "Because someone was once nice to me when I didn't deserve it. Changed my life." Lyra didn't say anything. "They treat humans like tools here," he continued. "But we're more than that. I've seen what humans can do when they believe. In themselves, we build. We fight. We love. We dream." Lyra turned to him. "But we're not allowed to." "Not yet," Thorn said. "But things change. One person at a time." One day, while cleaning a backup power unit, Lyra found something strange. A hidden hatch behind the wall. She called Thorn over. Together. They opened it and discovered a small room, dark and dusty, filled with crates. "What is this?" she asked. Thorn opened a crate. Inside were old Earth devices, books, tools, even a flag. "This is from the first human resistance," he whispered. "The Dravari must have hidden it after they crushed the uprising." Lyra touched the flag. Gently. "Why did we stop fighting?" "'Cause they broke us," Thorn said. "Taught us to forget who we were." She turned to him, her voice quiet but steady. "Then teach me to remember." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right, Lyra. Let's remember together." That night, Lyra sat reading one of the old books. It was called Voices of Earth. It talked about freedom, unity, and hope. She read aloud quietly. "We are born not to serve, but to live, not to kneel, but to rise." A tear slipped down her cheek. For the first time in her life, she felt something growing inside her. Not fear, not shame, but pride. Lyra woke with the sound of alarms. Her heart beat fast. Outside the small window of their quarters, red lights flashed, casting strange shadows on the metal walls. Commander Thorn was already up, moving quickly toward the door. "Something wrong?" she asked. Thorn didn't answer right away. He grabbed his jacket and motioned for her to follow. "Let's check the control room." The hallway was crowded with nervous workers and soldiers. The Dravari guards were shouting orders in their harsh language, but the humans kept their heads down. Thorn pulled Lyra into a small maintenance corridor, away from the noise. "They suspect something," he said quietly. "We need to be careful." Lyra's mind raced. What did they suspect? Was it her? Thorn stopped and looked at her. "You're learning fast. Good." She nodded but didn't say a word. She felt her hands shake. At the control room, Thorn scanned the screens. The station's power was flickering. A technical failure or sabotage? "Looks like a power surge in Sector 7, Thorn muttered. "I need to go there. Stay here and watch the monitors." Lyra hesitated, but he pushed her gently toward the console. "Use the access codes I gave you if you need to." She swallowed her fear and nodded. Hours passed. Lyra watched the station's systems flicker on the screens. She saw warning messages flashing. Oxygen levels dropping. Temperature rising. Security cameras offline. Then a strange alert appeared. Unauthorized access detected. Her heart skipped a beat. She remembered the hidden room they had found. What if someone else knew? What if the Dravari were onto them? Suddenly, the control room door hissed open. A Dravari officer entered, tall, sharp-eyed, and cold. His black armor gleamed under the red lights. "Commander Thorn?" he asked, looking at Lyra. She froze. "I am Officer Jarnox. You're under suspicion for illegal activity." Lyra's breath caught. Thorn stepped in, calm but firm. "There's been a technical problem. We are fixing it." Jarnox's eyes narrowed. "We will see." The officer left, but the tension stayed thick in the air. That night, Lyra sat across from Thorn, feeling restless. "You think they will?" "Come after us?" she asked. Thorn sighed. "Maybe, but we have something they don't." "What?" "Hope." He handed her a small device, an old Earth data pad. "This has records, history, stories of human strength." Lyra held it carefully. She felt warmth spread inside her chest. Days passed, and Lyra's confidence grew. She learned to read the alien systems, to repair broken wires, to access restricted data. Thorn treated her like a partner, not a servant. One afternoon, as they worked in the reactor control room, the alarm suddenly blared again. A sudden burst of sparks flew from a damaged console. Thorn grabbed a fire extinguisher. But before he could react, Lyra stepped forward. "Wait, let me try." He hesitated, but nodded. With steady hands, Lyra opened the panel and rerouted power. Safely around the damaged section, the sparks stopped. Thorn smiled, amazed. "You saved us." She blushed. "I didn't think I could." "You can do more than you think," Thorn said softly. That evening, Thorn and Lyra sat in the common room. Lyra held the datapad, reading stories from Earth's past about heroes who fought for freedom. "Do you think humans can rise again?" she asked. "I know we can. Even with the Dravari watching, we have to. If we don't, we lose everything." Lyra's eyes shone with new fire. One day, while checking the station's security logs, Lyra discovered hidden files, secret orders from the Dravari High Command. Her hands trembled as she read. Thousands of humans were scheduled to be sent to genetic reprogramming camps. These camps erased memories and will, turning humans into obedient workers for life. She showed the files to Thorn. "We can't let this happen," she whispered. Thorn's face grew dark. "We won't." He laid out a plan. They would use the old Earth devices hidden in the secret room to reactivate dormant defenses in the station. Lyra's eyes widened. "You mean weapons?" "Yes, but not for destruction. For freedom." For the next days, Thorn and Lyra worked. In secret, she learned how to operate the station's ancient defense drones, old Earth technology that still worked beneath the Dravari systems. Each night, they practiced. Each day they grew stronger. Lyra started to talk more, to laugh sometimes. She was no longer the quiet worker. She was becoming a leader. But the Dravari were not blind. Officer Jarnex's suspicions grew, began watching Thorn's quarters, scanning for unusual activity. One evening, Jarnex confronted Lyra near the power control room. "You are far from your assigned duties," he said coldly. Lyra met his gaze. "Steady now. I am doing what I was told, helping my commander." Jarnox sneered. "You will regret this." She didn't flinch. That night, Lyra couldn't sleep. She thought of the people in the camps, the humans who had no hope. Thorn came to her side. "We can change things," he said softly. She looked at him, eyes bright. "Together," he nodded. "Together." The soft hum of the station's engines was the only sound in the small room where Commander Rick Thorn and Lyra worked late into the night. The faint glow of the console lights reflected off their faces as they studied the data in front of them. "We're close," Thorn said, his voice low but full of hope. "The station's defense systems are mostly dormant, but if we can reactivate them, we might have a chance." Lyra nodded, her eyes bright with determination. "I never thought machines like this could still work. They were built by humans," Thorn said with a small smile. "Strong and smart. It's like you." Lyra blushed slightly, but focused on the screen. They had uncovered ancient Earth technology hidden beneath layers of Dravari control software, old drones, energy shields, and automated weapons that could turn the tide. "We need to get past the security protocols," she said, tapping the datapad. "They're complicated, but not impossible." Thorn leaned over her shoulder. "You're learning fast. Soon, you'll be better at this than me." Days passed with secret work. Every time they repaired a system or reactivated a drone, the hope inside Lyra grew stronger. She felt alive for the first time in her life, more than just a worker or a tool. One evening, Lyra found a file marked Human Resistance Archives. She opened it carefully and read the names of heroes who had fought before. Their stories filled with courage and sacrifice. "They didn't give up," she whispered. "Neither will we." Dawn put a hand on her shoulder. "No, we'll carry their fight forward." But the Dravari's watchful eyes were closing in. Officer Jarnex was no longer subtle. He ordered more patrols near Thorn's quarters and scanned all data transmissions for irregular activity. One day, Jarnex stormed into Thorn's workshop with a squad of guards. Commander Jarnik said, voice cold. We have reason to believe you are involved in unauthorized activities. Surrender your equipment. Thorn stood firm, hands raised slightly. I'm just maintaining the station systems, Jarnik sneered. Your lies won't save you. Lyra watched from the shadows, heart pounding. She could not let this end here. When Jarnik's left with the confiscated tools, Thorn looked at her grimly. They're tightening the noose. Lyra's voice was steady. Then we have to move faster. That night, Thorn and Lyra met with a small group of humans who had secretly gathered. They were tired, beaten down, but still burning with quiet. Hope. Lyra stepped forward and spoke. We found old Earth defenses hidden in this station. If we can reactivate them, we can protect ourselves. The group listened closely as Thorn explained the plan, to use the station's ancient technology to take control, send messages to Earth and other colonies, and spark a new rebellion. One man, older and scarred, shook his head. The Dravari will crush us all. Lyra's eyes flashed. Not if we fight smart. Not if we fight together. In the following days, the group worked in secret. Taught them what she had learned about the systems. Thorn helped organize patrols to guard their hideouts. Every step was dangerous. The Dravari were ruthless, and the threat of discovery loomed over them like a dark cloud. During a routine check, Lyra found a hidden communication channel. She listened carefully and heard voices of other humans talking about rising up in distant colonies. Her heart raced. We're not alone, she told Thorn. Thorn nodded. This is the beginning, but hope was fragile. One night, as Lyra returned from a supply run, Dravari guards stopped her. They searched her roughly, but she stayed calm when they found nothing. Jarnik stepped forward. You're playing a dangerous game. Lyra met his cold gaze without fear. I'm just trying to live. Jarnik smiled cruelly. You will regret this. The danger made Lyra and Thorn stronger. They worked harder, trusting each other more. Lyra found herself thinking not just about survival, but about freedom, real freedom. One evening, as they looked out over the vast stars from the station's observation deck, Thorn spoke softly. Lyra, you've changed everything here. You're more than a worker. You're a leader. Lyra smiled, the stars reflecting in her eyes. You're more than a commander. You're my partner. The halls of Veltarak 9 thrummed with tension. Every step echoed louder than usual. Every shadow seemed deeper. Lyra moved with purpose, her mind sharp as she led a small group of humans toward the communications tower. Today was the day they would speak their truth. Commander Rick Thorn was close behind, carrying tools and equipment needed to override the station's control systems. The old Earth defenses had been reactivated slowly, but now it was time to use them. Are you ready? Thorn asked, glancing at Lyra. She nodded firmly. We've waited too long. The Dravari think we are weak. They're wrong. The communications tower was heavily guarded by Dravari soldiers, as group moved quietly, avoiding patrols and cameras. Using codes and hacks taught by Thorn, they slipped through security doors and climbed narrow staircases. At last, they reached the maincoms room. Lyra connected the datapad to the system and began broadcasting. This is Lyra. Her voice strong and clear over the station's frequency. To all humans in the Galactic Union, we are alive. We remember who we are. We will no longer serve as slaves. Across the station, hidden speakers carried her words. Humans stopped their work, listening with wide eyes and growing hope. Suddenly, alarms blared. Dravari guards stormed in, weapons drawn. Protect Lyra, Thorn shouted. Hold the line. Fierce battle broke out. Humans fought back with renewed courage, using the station's ancient weapons and makeshift tools. Lyra fired a plasma pistol she had learned to use, hitting a guard before ducking behind cover. The fight was chaotic but precise. The humans had nothing to lose. As the skirmish raged, Lyra and Thorn moved to secure the comms tower. Lyra's. The voice came over the speakers again. Humans of the Union, unite. We will rise together and reclaim our freedom. The message repeated in every language. Reaching far beyond Veltarak 9, elsewhere on the station, Other groups of humans took up the call. They sabotaged power grids, freed imprisoned workers, and fought the Dravari patrols. In the chaos, Officer Jarnix appeared, rallying the Dravari soldiers. He sought Lyra personally, determined to end the rebellion. Lyra and Thorn fought side by side, covering each other. Thorn's experience and Lyra's quick thinking made them a powerful team. At one point, Jarnix confronted Lyra directly. "You are nothing but a traitor to your species," he snarled. Lyra stood tall. "I am human. I am free." "Move." She disabled Jarnix's weapon and knocked him out. The battle ended with the humans holding the station. The Dravari command was forced to retreat and regroup. Lyra's broadcast had reached many human colonies. The spark of rebellion was spreading. That night, Lyra addressed the freed humans in the station's main hall. "We have taken the first step, but this fight is far from over. Together, we will rise and show the galaxy the true strength of humanity." Thorn stood beside her, proud and hopeful. The vast blackness of space stretched endlessly beyond the windows of the newly captured bridge. Commander Rick Thorn stood beside Lyra, the woman who had transformed from a quiet worker into a symbol of hope for all humanity. The station Veltarek 9 was now under human control, but the war was far from over. "We did it," Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible. Thorn smiled gently. "We did, but this is just the beginning." Across the galaxy, the message from Veltarek 9 spread like wildfire. The humans in distant colonies heard Lyra's voice, a call to rise up and reclaim their freedom. It was a sound they had waited for, a spark to light the flames of rebellion. Ships, once silent in docking bays, now roared to life. Human soldiers prepared to fight back against the Dravari Empire. On Earth, the heart of human civilization, leaders met in secret. News of the uprising gave them hope and a new plan. Lyra's words were everywhere in holonet broadcasts, whispered in crowded marketplaces, painted on walls in bright colors. "We are not slaves," she said in one broadcast. "We are human. We remember freedom." Back on Veltarek 9, Thorn and Lyra planned their next move. "We need to build a fleet," Thorn said. "To protect ourselves and spread the rebellion." Lyra nodded. "And to send a message to the Dravari, humanity will not bow." They began gathering parts, repairing old ships, and training volunteers. The station became a beacon of hope. Days turned into weeks. Battles broke out across the Union. Humans fought with courage and cleverness. Surprising the Dravari at every turn, Lyra led speeches, inspired fighters, and stood beside Thorn in every battle. Their bond grew stronger, built on trust and shared dreams. One night, on the bridge of their flagship, Lyra looked out at the stars. "Do you think we can win?" she asked. Thorn took her hand. "We have to believe we will. For all of us." She smiled, feeling the weight of history on their shoulders. The final scene showed the fleet heading toward the heart of the Dravari Empire, a symbol of humanity's rise. Lyra whispered, "They assigned me to you as a worker, but you treated me like a queen," Thorn answered. "Because you were always meant to lead."